Pets Add Life, your guide to the latest in pet trends, products, and the joy of the human-animal bond, with Kristen Levine and Chris Bonifati, powered by the American Pet Products Association and Dog TV.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, Kristen.
Welcome
back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I'm curious to know if you ever had a pet in a classroom when you were growing up.
Definitely. But I was not one of those kids who was like allowed to take it home on the weekend. I was just not. And I'm sure our listeners at home can relate to that. Sound off in the chat if you're one of the kids who was not allowed to take the turtle home on the weekends for any various reasons, whether it was bad behavior, lack of discipline, class clown, all of the above, like myself.
But look at you now. Look at you now, cat
Look
daddy.
at me now. Now, you can't stop me from going to the store and getting a turtle. But it's absolutely amazing. You look back and think about growing up and, the exposure to animals and all the responsibility that it taught you and the discipline and the important life lessons. And later on in the episode, we're going to be hearing from a woman who's part of a great program to get more pets in classrooms.
Yeah. It was a really interesting interview. And I didn't realize how easy it can be to just reach out, have your child's teacher reach out to this organization to apply to participate in the Pets in the Classroom program. So we'll talk more with her in a little bit, but let's kick it off with your first story, Chris.
Yeah. And as you know, we've got a great line of stuff set up for you guys. We're back to our usual gimmick. We're going to give you 2 stories. We're going to interview 2 guests. We're going to answer 2 questions. We're going to recommend 2 products. And then I'm going to have 2 cocktails. But that's going to happen off camera. Kristen's eyes went wide because we're recording this at like 11 a.m. on a Thursday. So that's probably concerning for most people. But my story.
You probably had 2 espresso shots right before the show.
It's the only way to do it. You can't come with this vibrant energy without the help of caffeine in today's day and age.
Kristen and Chris present Storytime.
I've got a fun story. I've been boring you guys with a lot of work stuff, but I'm past Global Pet Expo now. I'm back to fun-loving summertime Chris. And Kristen, did you know that this is a great headline? I love these catchy clickbaity headlines sometimes. The pet brand Akana is paying one cat lover $10,000 to cuddle with kittens.
What?
And it could be you at home. They haven't picked it yet. It could be you at home. So Akana is running this great little promotion. The summer is called kitten season. That is in nature, left to their own devices. Kittens are generally born in May. And mature over the summer. So there is a large boom in the population. And I think it's something that not people are unaware of, that there is like this spike of kittens in the summer. So Akana is doing this whole awareness campaign around the concept of kitten season, getting people to adopt some of these street cats who've gone and had kittens. But I know what everybody's thinking. Like, get through the promotion. Tell me how I can be that person. So the reason they're having somebody do this is they just want to build awareness. They want to get people to enter. It would be a half day at the Best Friends Animal Society Life Saving Center, or one of their network partner shelters. You will also be given a paycheck of $10,000. And there is a link. Let me see where you should be going. I believe it's just onto the Akana website. There is no purchase necessary, no payment necessary, and you could be selected because kittens need that bonding time. If we think about that cuddle puddle of kittens, they do need to bond with their litter. It's great to have a kitten bond and imprint with you at a young age so that they recognize you real quickly as part of their pack. And the concept of this entire puddle of kittens, this lovely thing, is to bring awareness that there's a lot of cats that need a home. So if you're out there listening and think, yeah, it's a great time to adopt. If you've been looking for a cat I know some people they take their time, which is a smart move. Take your time when you're looking for a new addition to your home. But if you just haven't found that kitten that's right for you, go back to your shelters in May. In June, there's going to be an uptick in the number of new kittens who need a nice home. So make that return trip, and maybe you'll find your forever friend. But head to Akana's website. I think you have until I believe this episode airs on the last day that you can enter. So if you're listening to this right now, head on over to the Akana site. Fill out their little application. It could be you. I'm going to be doing it right after I get this call. It's going to be I'm going to use the whole entire weight of my position to ensure that I'm selected. So maybe, you know what? Take back everything I said. Nobody enter. Don't enter. Don't do it.
Too late.
Save all the spots for me.
It's too late. Well, I'll make you a deal. If you do get chosen, you get the 10 grand, you've got to give half of it to the shelter.
Yeah, obviously.
Okay.
I don't need the money. This is about
cuddling?
Yeah, this is about the cuddle puddle. Okay. That's worth 10 grand for me. Okay.
Whatever you say. All right. So speaking of cuddling, this is sort of a segue that kind of, I'm going to try to make it work here. So I came across this adorable story about a little pit bull mixed puppy that was rescued. His name is Ranger, I believe. And he is obsessed with his stuffy toy. So, those are the plush toys that have little squeakers. Yes. This dog takes it everywhere. And there's a video of him doing this on the dodo. He plays with it. He drops it right next to his food bowl when he eats. And the cutest thing is when his mom washes it, once a week, she'll throw it in the wash. He sits in the laundry room. And while it's in the washer, while it's in the dryer, and he waits for her to pull it out. And I just thought that was so cute. And it just so happens that my neighbor, Julie, she rescues Newfoundlands. And she has 3 of her own, and she has one that she's fostering right now. His name is Wyatt. So if you're looking to adopt a Newfoundland, Wyatt is a beautiful black and white Newfie. And I bought him this salmon-shaped stuffy because she had me over for sushi one night and wouldn't let me pay half. So I went out and I found this, I figured it's kind of sushi-like. I bought this salmon stuffy for Wyatt. This dog is obsessed with it. She sends me photos every single day of him with this stuffy in his mouth. So what's your pet's favorite stuffy? Do they have one? I don't know.
We have, my family dog is a big mutt and has torn through a lot of her toys, but one, the first little pink dog we got her as a puppy, she will not tear through. It's still some minor stitching has needed to be done. She plays rough with everything else, the tug and shake kind of thing. But her first toy, she takes care of like a treasure. So, yes, it's absolutely adorable. It's absolutely
it's a
adorable.
Thing.
Yes. So
I think every dog has their favorite stuffy.
Yes, as they should. Two adorable stories. No yin and yang here. Both yin or both yang. I'm not sure where that lies. But thanks for sharing your story, Kristen.
Of course. I think we're going to tee up our first guest now.
Great. Yeah, the one we've been teasing, right?
Teased it at the top of the show.
Yeah.
Exactly. We had a chance to speak with Melinda from Pets in the Classroom when we were at Global Pet Expo. So let's take a listen.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
For those unaware, why don't you tell us just a little bit about Pets in the Classroom and the program?
Yeah, it is all about enhancing a student's educational and their social development, right? And who doesn't love supporting kids and education and pets? It's like this perfect trifecta that you can't get enough of. And it's so emotional. There's so many positive stories, and I think all of us have a childhood memory of having a pet or a therapy animal in our classroom at some point in time. And
I remember we had rabbits in one of my classrooms.
We had a turtle. I don't know if this counts. We did butterflies once, from caterpillars to butterflies.
Cool.
I don't know if that counts as a pet. We'll have to I'll ask the audience at home. Let us know in the comments if a butterfly counts as a pet. But tell us a little more about how a teacher might go about to apply and that type of process and what they could expect as far as a level of responsibility too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. So it's a pretty simple process, and it's a really easy website where they can get information, petsintheclassroom.org. So if they just do a quick Google on Pets in the Classroom, they're going to find, our listing and our site come up. And from there, the teachers can get a lot of different information, right? They're going to get pet care information so they can make an appropriate selection of what they think is best for their students and their responsibility level. We have lesson plans, and so especially if they're focusing on STEM or some of those life sciences or some of the, English language arts, it's a great place for information. But teachers can go on there and they can select from 2 different programs. One is our Pets in the Classroom program. The other is the Dogs in the Classroom program. Okay. So for the Pets in the Classroom program, they're going to fill out some basic information. It's going to take 5, 6, 7 minutes, not too complicated. And then they can select that pet, go to the store, get a habitat for free, and discount the pet and the supplies, and then take it back to their classroom and set up. So, so it's a lot of fun. And then on the dog side, once again, filling out some basic information, and then we will partner them with a therapy dog provider, and they're going to bring that pet in, whatever is the best schedule for that teacher.
Oh, okay, so the dogs in the classroom are therapy dogs.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay, so it's not like a teacher could bring their own pet into the classroom.
Right.
Okay.
And they're more part-time workers, and the other pets are full-time workers.
That's a great analogy. Sometimes I talk about residential pets, and that might be our fish and our guinea pigs and our reptiles and beardies. They're so much fun. But you are exactly right. Those dogs are coming to visit. Okay. And sometimes they might bring a rabbit in to visit, or they might bring a cat in. Cats are a little unique and a little special. Oh, sure. So dogs are most of our friends.
And so for the full-time pets, they're obviously staying in the classroom over the weekend or over holidays, or who cares for them in those off times?
Oh, okay. So it's the end, in the end, it's the teacher's responsibility to make sure that they're cared for. Right. But how that teacher manages that process is really unique and fun, because some teachers, they are taking that pet home over the weekend and during the extended breaks. Other teachers are finding students who have shown responsibility, and that's a great way to connect with some of those students and teach them those responsibility, and those students are taking it home with their families and then returning it, at the end of break or the end of summer.
Right. What are some of the specific benefits that students are getting out of the program? I mean, I'm sure there's too many to count, probably.
Responsibility is a huge one that teachers share with us, because students have the opportunity to either do the work and the pet becomes that time with the pet becomes a reward, or sometimes it's taking care of the pet and cleaning their cages or making sure they have food and water. But the empathy and compassion is another really strong point to those character buildings. When we have such great respect for our peers, it's not just the animal, but it's also for that. Another things that teachers tell us is that these kids really learn how to self-regulate their emotions. And sometimes they really respect an animal, and they don't want to upset that animal. So with that, it just becomes a really positive learning environment. Sure. I'm kind of like a co-teacher, and attendance goes up, self-esteem goes up, anxiety goes down. Social skills because outside of the classroom, they might have a lot of different things in their cultures or their economics. But with these pets, it's just one-on-one. So it's a really special time. Yeah, so if people know educators, please have them, apply. And we have never turned down a teacher for a grant.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yep, so public or private schools, pre-K through 9th grade.
Wow, all the way up to 9th grade.
Yeah, and who funds this program?
Oh, we're so appreciative of the pet industry. So 3 major trade associations with it, the pet industry. So American Pet Products, World Pet Association, and the Pet Industry Distributors Association. But then we have so many individual sponsors, corporate sponsors. So we really appreciate what they've done. And now we're reaching out. So you might see, going into one of your pet retail locations, a Roundup campaign at the register. So we'd love for them to engage the general public to be able to give back and support the kids in the education of the pets.
Fantastic. And it's petsintheclassroom.org, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, very Melinda, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
We appreciate having you.
Great.
Pets add life.
So I'm just going to reiterate, if you are a teacher, one of like my 9 friends out there who is a teacher, I know you're listening right now. Definitely take advantage of this. If you are, if you've been wondering how you could use animals to enhance the classroom experience, they have all sorts of resources, including the most important resource in the classroom in today's day and age, money. They will help pay for all of this, which I know. I mean, listen, it's the truth about education in America. A lot of money comes out of teachers' pockets. So let's put some of that back in, so your kids can have a great experience in the classroom.
Great point. Great point, Chris. So we also had a chance to speak with Beth from Wagtown, Beth Miller.
Yes.
And I thought what was really interesting about chatting with her is that the term pet friendly is a lot more complex than you might think.
I learned a lot in this one.
Yeah, let's listen.
Beyond the Leash, exploring the untold stories of pet passion and professionalism.
We are here with Beth Miller from Wagtown. Beth, great to see you today.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
Yeah, I met you a couple days ago at the Pet Summit, which is another event here at Global Pet Expo, right, Chris?
That is correct. Yeah, going on in conjunction with APA and Global Pet Expo. It's the first year we've had the Pet Summit here at Global Pet Expo, and from what I've heard, it was a lot of fun. A lot of people really enjoyed it.
It was great turnout. But we're here to talk about something that I think a lot of us think we know what it means, but there's a much deeper meaning to it, and that's
dog friendliness. And personally, when I think of dog friendly, I think of restaurants, right? That's really where my mind goes to as a millennial guy living in a suburban urban environment, is where can I bring my dog to go get a cup of coffee or enjoy a nice meal with my wife. But for some reason, I think we're talking to you because it goes a little deeper than that.
Yes, it does. And I appreciate when people put those bowls out, and a lot of people consider that to be, like an indicator of dogs are welcome here. But what I'm trying to do with Wagtown, with Wagtown and dog friendliness, is help people understand that while that is a good indicator that people welcome you at that particular establishment, what people are looking for right now, to harken back to what you said, which is where can I take my dog? That really extends more into, can I get inclusive housing? Do I have to pay more for that? Can I get insurance coverage? Is there access to veterinary care within my driving distance? So we can have what I call a dog friendliness desert, and it's because it's missing a lot of those things, because we don't just want to own a dog, we want to live in a community that celebrates that and supports it with resources and access.
So where do we begin? Where do you start?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Yeah, when I was we were considering moving. We live in Ohio, and Googled dog-friendly cities in America, and there were 28.7 million hits. Right?
Wow.
I know. So I was like, we can move anywhere. But then when I looked into it and did a little secondary research with a couple of universities, we found that, for lack of a better word, it was BS, right? Mm-hmm. It was a lot of our condo, we're having an event, and so there were these isolated examples of things you could do in a dog-friendly community, and they used them cumulatively from a PR perspective to develop a brand identity that really screams out dog friendliness. But then when you get there, so I quit my job and ejected from this great C-suite position that I absolutely adored, and decided to go on this trek. And so I traveled all over the U.S. and interviewed people face-to-face in transportation, public health, public safety, public art, Chamber of Commerce, Better Business Bureau, the education system, obviously animal advocates. So it's just such a bigger topic when you consider what happens when you plop a poodle into a town. There's a ripple effect in the schools and in law enforcement, first responders. So it really gets bigger than that. And so if we want to get to a point where we can define it the way it should be so that it's a benefit to the animals and the humans, then we need to decide that it needs to be a comprehensive community-wide approach that involves a lot more people at the table and bringing in the animal advocates and that have a business and culture shift perspective into those conversations where they've been absent so far.
Where is the biggest, in your opinion, where is the biggest challenge with communities lacking a true, giving lip service to being pet friendly, but not actually serving the community in the way that you're talking about?
Right. Well, I think part of the problem there is we need to stop the, my background is marketing for 30 years, so I get it, right?
Yes.
If I was in charge there, right, I would definitely say let's lean into marketing based on how we treat our dogs and what that means for the community. But what we start to see is while we're pushing for that, we're going to see what I would call sort of this natural disaster coming, where if you take away guardrails and allow more dog friendliness to happen, if you do that in a community where they're not used to being dog friendly, now you have all these dog owners coming in and they don't know what that means to be dog friendly. So when you live in a dog friendly community, you need to be a little more responsible. You need to focus on training and making sure your dog is having an enriching experience. So I think some of it is that education piece, but also taking a more global perspective. So I've done 800 interviews so far. Most of those have been in the U.S., but because of COVID, that gave me a springboard into more global conversations. And when I did that, it gave me a better understanding of how this shift from dog friendliness from one direction to the other of being much more enriching and much more comprehensive is very dependent on where you live, what the economic environment is in there, and culturally around the world there are a lot of different perspectives. Breed discrimination, for instance, is a hot topic in the U.S., but it's also extremely hot topic all around the world, and we're all on this curve, right? We're not in the same spot, and so we need a lot of empathy and understanding and sharing of ideas.
Yeah. So do you think we have a truly dog-friendly city in the United States, or is it one of those things we'll always be chasing because perfection is a myth?
Well, first of all, props on using the word chasing. Nice pun.
Thank you. I'm here for the pet puns.
That's right. There are so many. Well, if you showed me probably any community, I could pick, well, this is not great, this is not great. I would say that when I was on the West Coast, East Coast, a few places down south, there's more access to things, and a lot of that, though, is attitude. Okay. So you'll find that even though they're not, quote, allowed to be in certain areas, the general culture there is, sure, bring them along, because no one's saying no.
Nobody wants to say no.
No one wants to say no to the right dog people. You show up in your Cocker Spaniel in your arms and they're like, get out, right?
Right.
That doesn't go over well for business either. So I think that's there. We see cities, out in sort of the Colorado area, not to name any names, Boulder, but they're really pushing their brand identity based on the fact that they're backing off of breed discrimination.
Right.
But what they're doing is they used to say you can't have them at all. Then they said you can have it, but now you have to pay, I think it's $75 for a 45-minute assessment of your dog, and it's only based on their appearance. It says that in the materials. Yep, solely based on their appearance. So you're causing people to take time off of work, take off that time, spend money, and they may not even have that to spare, right? So now you're asking them to go through these hoops. So, and when that happens, then they're designated as dangerous, right? And so
based
that comes
upon
along
appearance?
Appearance.
So
only.
they just got a guy who's like, that's a mean-looking dog.
Yeah, and if you look at the numbers, most people cannot identify correctly what those breed mixes are, and it certainly doesn't indicate the behavior. So that's where you see a lot of freedoms in that community and a lot of celebration of dogs, but at the same time, there's that undercurrent of, it's outdated to some extent, but it's also, we need to evolve in the way that we interact with those animals so that it's not so much of a hot button.
Great.
Moving on to pet-friendly housing, I heard a statistic yesterday that said that apparently 72% of apartments say they're pet-friendly, but yet like 75% of people looking for pet-friendly apartments say they struggle to find one, and that's because they put up so many different restrictions or fees or, cats only, weight limits and all that.
That's only have like a 10-pound dog.
Right. Yeah, so our last place that we lived, we tore our house down because we wanted to move, right? The 28.7 million hits. Well, we decided to stay in Ohio. It's like, well, we like where we live, but our house had some issues with cedar siding, so we tore it down. But, in the meantime, we're living in an apartment. Well, we had an 85-pound Great Pyrenees.
Oh, wow.
So good luck, right? So we find the place, we get the contract signed, we're all good. And then I looked at Tom and I'm like, oh, we didn't mention that Rocky is big. We mentioned that we had him and we told her it was a Great Pyrenees, not thinking like nobody knows what a Great Pyrenees is, and they certainly don't know that it's big. So, we had to go back into the office and kind of negotiate down. It's like, well, should we tell her it's 50 pounds? There's no way they're going to believe that, even though it's mostly hair.
Right.
So, it becomes this sort of judgment call on their part. Right. And so then you get into who are they going to make that call for? Who are they not going to, there's a possibility for discrimination all over again when you individually have to go in and do that.
Sure.
So I think people are afraid, to your point about those stats, that they advertise that you can come in, and when you get there, you're right, it's either more money, they won't insure you, they won't allow you in, there are more restrictions, it's more of a deposit, and there's a lot of pushback on that, and we see some of the organizations that are here at the event and that you guys focus on, they're really taking those strides in big ways so that it allows those smaller organizations that offer that housing to feel empowered and backed.
Sure, yeah. And if I could offer a sliver of hope, Millennials are now the dog-owningest generation that's ever existed on the planet, and they're beginning to enter positions of actual power, whether it's across government or business. Millennials are really starting to become the key decision makers in things. And I know if I was in charge, personally, as a millennial, I'd definitely make things easier for dog owners. So maybe we're going to start to see a shift in the paradigm of it with some of your work and some of the work of all those organizations that you had mentioned.
Oh, definitely. First of all, I'm voting for you as king.
Okay,
So
great.
take care of that immediately.
Smart.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the pet ownership is millennial on down. The choice to not have children a lot, and the sort of culture shift of being away from them. I know there was a lot of chatter about dogs that are coming in during COVID and how they're going to have separation anxiety, and we do see that happening. But we also see this new focus on depression and anxiety in humans, and I don't think there's not a connection there. I think there's a big connection between that. The separation anxiety is not just canine. Now people are realizing the impact on their productivity, their quality of life, their health, all of their outlooks. It's significantly changed. So we're starting to see a push toward HR for allowing those things to happen, and that's where you start to see, well, that's going to be of interest to the healthcare companies. Right now, it's like, oh, wait a second, we're getting further and further up the ladder of the people that are pushing those paradigms to exist.
Well, Beth, if people or communities, municipalities want to talk to you, work with you, how do they find you?
Well, Wagtown's work is a nonprofit, and we're at wagtown.org. And if they want, we're having a virtual summit coming up in May on the 15th and 16th. And that is speakers from all over the world speaking on things like diversity and equity in the veterinary field, inclusive housing for pets and animals and companion animals for the full bonded family. We have trainers and things like that, people coming in from the Pet Advocacy Network to talk about the state of the industry, first responders and law enforcement, and then people like Chrissy Joy coming in to do fun rooms and the boop rooms afterwards. So it's a lot of fun and education. And while we're focusing on, spotlights on innovation and new ways of thinking, we're also giving people a platform to better understand that when they're approached about increasing dog friendliness in their communities, that they've heard these messages and they understand that it's a much bigger conversation than the dog bowl at the bistro.
Sounds like a great event.
Great way to bring it back.
That information is
full
at
circle.
That's dogfriendlysummit.com.
Fantastic. Dogfriendlysummit.com. And now we're going to have to change the definition in the dictionary of dog friendly.
Yes.
Yeah, it just got a lot longer.
I know. Just put like see Beth.
See Beth. There we go. Yes,
Thank
that sounds
you, Beth,
great.
for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, it was a pleasure.
Pets add life.
It was great hearing from Beth. Like I said, I learned a lot about the term pet friendly, how it's systematic and holistic, and you really have to take a top-down view. It's great to have somebody as smart and witty and thoughtful as Beth, sort of on top of it. So the rest of us can just show her support. Yeah, show her support and stay on top of these types of things, especially if you're somebody who's looking for a fully dog friendly experience.
The product of the week.
All right, let's talk pet products.
Yes, let's do products of the week.
Oh my goodness. All right, so I'll go first this time.
Okay, please. I'm still pulling up my links.
Okay. This is another company that appeared on Shark Tank. I didn't realize this when I chose the product. It's called Silly Dog.
Yes.
And Silly Dog is a company that makes pet tags made from 100% silicone. And the benefit of that is that they're more durable than the little aluminum tags or metal tags. They don't fade. They don't jingle. Oh, that's a big one, right? Like I can remember in the past, my dog having 2 or 3 tags on his collar, and just you could hear him wherever he was.
Yep.
And if he was scratching, or that can get really annoying. And if it's annoying for us, imagine how annoying it is for them to have that constant jingle right in their ear. So these silly tags are super cool. So I said silent. You can also get the glow in the dark kind. And they come in so many different customized formats. It's incredible. You can find them at shelters, in your favorite retailer. And I was trying to figure out who he got a deal with on Shark Tank, and I didn't get a chance to figure that out. So, but I'm sure that helped to make him uber famous.
There we go. Yes, all of our celebrities come through Shark Tank. That is how this show. It is the Shark Tank to Pal podcast pipeline. Yeah, that is the nature of things. We got a question last week about trying to stimulate a cat who is just a little bit more lazy, and that sort of got my gears turning a little bit because I wasn't able to give a straight answer. So I'm back with a product recommendation that could help out. So Matt from New York, if you're still listening, Desi and Rue. It's a very simple, inexpensive product. So you're not going to be getting like this huge elaborate thing in case the animal doesn't like it. But really they're essentially these weighted balls that will roll around easier, and you put either treats or catnip inside. And then they have all sorts of designs with the tail and stuff like that. And it's just meant to make your cat want to crack open this nut, essentially. It's almost like a little plastic screwball. And they have their own line of catnip as well. They have a couple of other like fishing rod styles, but the base idea of the product is just this weighted ball that's going to roll around all frantically. And inside you put either the catnip or the treats. It's a very simple solution. You're not going to be breaking the bank in case it doesn't work out. They were exhibiting at Global Pet Expo a few weeks ago, and I actually did have the chance to speak with the...
Did you play with it?
I did. I got down on all fours. I deleted the tape, luckily. They were going to air that for you after this segment, but I actually hacked into the Dog TV servers and deleted that evidence. We can't have that quite yet. But it's a great little product. So be sure to check it out. That's Desi and Rue. You can find them at Desiroo, DEZIROO.com.
Awesome.
Q&As.
So I think we are up to the point where we do our Q&A.
Yeah, 2 questions.
And please remember, you can send your question via audio, which we would love, because then we get to hear your voice. And they can do that at petsadlife.org/podcast.
That's correct.
Is that right?
Petsadlife.org/podcast or dogtv.com/pal podcast. Scroll on down to the bottom of the page, and there's the submission form or a link to record your audio. So keep sending in your questions, and yours might appear on the show.
All right. And I've got one for you, Chris. So
okay, let it rip.
This is Brian from Orlando. Okay. From Orlando. His dog recently started limping after their morning runs, but it doesn't seem to be constant. He says, should I be concerned about intermittent limping, and what steps should I take? Well,
yeah, great question.
Yeah, I would definitely be concerned.
Yes.
Yeah, really good question. Very good observation. And I like that you're not blowing it off because it's not a constant thing. So, I mean, my advice is pretty simple. I think you should make an appointment to see your vet to make sure that there's not any type of fracture or arthritis starting. I don't know how old the dog is here, but keep in mind, pets mask pain really well. So oftentimes by the time you notice that they're uncomfortable or in pain, they've either been in pain for quite a while or they're in more pain than you think they are. So I think that it's important that you go see the vet, and they can take an x-ray and get a diagnosis and then give you much better advice than I can give you as a non-veterinarian.
So I'm not a vet. I'm not a doctor, but I've interviewed a few on this show. So that is my level of expertise here. The best advice I could give you is take the dog to a vet. What I would guess is happening is your dog is an older dog, and it's probably some type of sprain or tear in one of their ligaments, which can be fixed both with surgery and with like dog physical therapy. So you're probably going to be presented with a choice on how you want to handle it. I personally know some people who have done the surgery and it's worked out fine. I have also known people to not do the surgery and the dog is able to heal on their own, but they use like a special cast to isolate the legs so that it could heal properly. Either way, if your dog or any animal is limping or walking weird in any capacity, it is a surefire sign that something is wrong and they should be given proper medical attention.
Excellent advice. All right. So question number 2 is from Tamra, and she's from Savannah, Georgia. And she says, I'm curious about pet health innovations. Were there any new health and wellness products or services introduced at the expo that promise to be game changers for pet care?
Sure. Here's my answer to that. I think we've figured out CBD, right? So I think there was this whole, and that might sound like old news, but here's the thing about an innovative product category. At this point, I think what a lot of people saw was, oh, the CBD craze is over because there's significantly less exhibitors on the show floor. There's less manufacturers making this product. I don't think that means the product's not viable. I think it means the losers have now lost. The ones with bad products, the ones who didn't really know what they were doing, they have been sorted out by capitalism. And the ones that remain are remaining because people buy them. And why do people buy them? Because they do work. So I think if you have not been one to sort of jump on that CBD bandwagon, that's okay. It's always smart to wait for these things to shake out a bit. But I think the products that currently exist on the market are generally speaking good ones. And if you have an older animal with inflammation or some type of chronic pain or arthritis, it is a good holistic option. Now that the companies that remain are providing a solid product that has the backing of many consumers and accreditations and associations and things like that. So while it's not a new trend, I think it's a trend that's really solidified itself in the past year and a half.
Yeah, and I think you could say the same for most supplements that we see in the pet space. You know, they're the ones that are, you know, top, really great quality and effective are going strong. And there's definitely more emphasis on preventative care and wellness as opposed to waiting till your pet is sick or ill or injured. So, and not to mention the folks from Mela Pet Care with their pet thermometer and their other great pet health innovations that help you be more mindful and on top of your pet's health at home, so that you have more information to share with your vet if and when that time comes.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a blending of the line between professional care and care at home. I think we're used to it with people. If I get a cut on my finger because I messed up using a kitchen knife, I don't need to go to the hospital or anything. I have bandages and the hydrogen peroxide. And I think we're starting to think about like that with our animals too, of there's some stuff we could take care of at home. And then there's the stuff where we need to go see a professional. So we've mentioned a few of those products throughout the show. We've interviewed some great people through the Best in Show Awards a few weeks ago and other folks we've had on the show. So as far as trend spotting goes, keep listening. If we keep talking about something, it's a trend. If we shut up about it, maybe it wasn't that much of a trend. So that's my final advice is keep listening to the podcast.
Yes, please keep listening. Give us a review. As Chris says, we would love a 5-star review. And if you don't like the show, give us 5 stars anyway, and then tell us privately how we can improve.
Yes, that is the best way to submit criticism
anywhere.
Is privately. Yes. It's best for my ego to do it that way. But if you have a question, we gave you some instructions. That's dogtv.com/palpodcast, petsedlife.org/podcast. Either website will work. Submit your questions. Share this with your friends. Go get a carrier pigeon, write the links down on a little piece of paper and release that pigeon into your neighborhood so that your neighbors can learn all about our excellent podcast and this wonderful show that, APA, Dog TV, Pets Ed Life all work together to put on for you guys. We hope you're having fun. I'm having a blast doing this thing. I truly am. So we just hope if you're having half as much fun as I am, I think we're doing a great job.
As Chris. Yeah. I think so too. All right, guys. Until next Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll see you on Tuesday. Bye-bye.
We'll see you later.
Pets Add Life.